What's up, ladies and gentlemen, it's me, Vole, and welcome back to a brand new video on accurate and powerful LEGO guns. Today, we're going to be checking out this son of a bitch. Enjoy. Let's kickstart this episode with a quick little introduction to our LEGO Crossbow, as well as showing you how to load the weapon. Now, this LEGO Crossbow is a single shot bow type weapon based on some of our other crossbows from earlier series. This is an improvement on our second version of the crossbow, and of course it's got a lot of improvements. The design is a lot more sleeker and it's got a better bow arm. It also uses the same hammer style mechanism and a similar trigger, only this time the rubber band is hidden. But we'll talk about that in a bit. First, let me show you how to load your weapon. Now, you may notice that there's this little switch down here. This allows you to cock the hammer, like so. So you do that first, then what you do is you pull this bow down behind the hammer. Then what you do is you load your bolt into the groove of the weapon, you aim to wherever you want to shoot, and then you fire, like so. So, now I've quickly shown you what this gun is all about, it's time to take it down to the range test. So here we are with the range test, and what we're going to do is we're going to shoot 4 crossbow bolts, we're going to shoot 2 large ones and 2 small ones. After that, we're going to go down and see how far each of those bolts are able to shoot. So, we're going to do the shorter bolts first. Test number 1. Test number 2. And now we're going to move on to the larger bolts. Test number 3. And of course, test number 4. Now, that was the range test, and what we're going to do now is we're going to go down and see how far these projectiles are able to shoot. So, here we are with the results of the range test. We're going to be looking at the slimmer bolts first, and this one travelled the furthest. This one flew a good distance of 6 meters, and this one didn't go too far behind with a range of 6 meters 5. Pretty good, and it can clearly show that these LEGO bolts do have quite a good bit of airtime, which is pretty neat. Now, sadly, the longer bolts didn't enjoy the same good range. This one, the first one, only went a disappointing 3.5 meters, with this one travelling an even shorter range at 3 meters. So the average range of our smaller bolts is around 5 meters 75, and unfortunately the average range of our larger bolts is around 3 meter 25. Good news, however, because the crossbow's range is always consistent no matter which bolt you are firing with, but If you want to make a good distance up, I would recommend shooting the shorter bolt. Distance. This crossbow had good consistency in the range. However, will it have good accuracy? Well, it will be time to find out shortly. But before we do so, allow me to talk you through the details of this LEGO pistol. This is a single-shot LEGO crossbow. It shoots various different LEGO Technic rods as bolts. This LEGO crossbow features a functioning bow connected to a rigid bow arm and an easy-to-use cockable hammer. The hammer is connected to the trigger and a simple release mechanism similar to those on LEGO revolvers. And this is the firing mechanism of the crossbow when it is separated from the weapon. And you may be able to notice that we have taken a similar mechanism from before. Another thing you may be able to notice is that the rubber band that provides tension to this trigger is internalized, and it's internalized very simply. What we have done is we have wrapped the rubber band around this circular hole of this LEGO Technic rod, and we have wrapped it around this LEGO Technic connector. And this LEGO Technic connector is connected to these two LEGO Technic bricks, which means the rubber band is unable to escape. And when you apply tension to the hammer, aka this tension from the bow string, then the hammer will try to push forward. However, this sear prevents the hammer from doing that. However, when you release the trigger, this band is released and the hammer will strike forwards, like so. Okay, yes, I did kind of cheat a little bit. If you did watch the clip again, I did kind of put the hammer forward, but again, just like on my flintlock pistol I showed you a while ago, what these hammer mechanisms tend to do is the hammer seems to tend to glide forward and it seems to bounce back. This crossbow is no exception. And I'm just going to prove to you that this really does work. Tension applied to hammer, bolt loaded, I'm going to pull the trigger, bolt fired. Job's a good one. And whilst we are still on the subject of the internals, you may notice that the pistol grip is attached to the crossbow in a slightly different way. Unlike with our previous LEGO creation, this pistol grip is attached to the crossbow using two connects rather than one. And what this allows for is a better grip angle. And this means that it's easier to hold, especially when you are pulling the trigger of the LEGO gun. Still on the subject of the pistol grip and the internals, you may notice that we have put a slope piece here. We've tried to keep the pistol grip out of the way of the LEGO weapon as possible, because our previous creation was designed to have only one connect for a reason, and that meant that we could actually still use the mechanism and still keep it tidy. However, I've still managed to figure it out, and part of that is by using this system to make sure that this doesn't interfere with the rest of the gun. Whilst we are still on the subject of improvements, you may have remembered the trigger guard on our previous LEGO Crossbow, which was bulky and clunky. This time we have improved the design, making it 2 studs wide, which makes it nice, sleeker and better. Also, rather than using big LEGO bricks, we have decided to have a smoother and neater trigger guard using LEGO base plates. And on the top, the LEGO base plates are flat. What you may have also noticed is, unlike with our previous LEGO trigger guard, this LEGO trigger guard follows a style similar to our small pocket-sized hammer action pistol, in which the certain parts of the trigger guard are connected using these Technic parts, which means that you can connect them together like so, and then easily manipulate them into any shape that you see fit, which is really good for when you're building a good trigger guard. And connecting this trigger guard to the LEGO weapon is simple. You put this part here, like so, aka the part that's closest to the longest part, and then this part that is closest to the shortest part is pieced in here, like so. And there you have it. You have attached the trigger guard. And for all you attachment fans out there, you'll be glad to know that you can attach sights onto this LEGO gun. So, what you'll need to do is, before you can even dream of putting attachments on this LEGO gun, what you'll have to do is you'll have to remove the rear sight and the front sight, as well as this smooth base plate, until the top of the LEGO gun looks like this. Then, in order to attach any sights onto the gun, aka this famous red dot sight that I made a while ago that I still keep using, then all you need to do is attach these two base plates to the top of this LEGO gun, like so, and voila, you have attached a red dot sight to the LEGO weapon. And of course, when you have gotten past the fiddliness of removing the sights, it's easy to use. First of all, easy to use the sight itself. All you need to do is aim with this sight, and it should be fairly accurate. Additionally, it's easy to take off as well, like so, and place back on. The only thing that's difficult to do is return the iron sights to the LEGO weapon. But even that isn't too difficult in and of itself. And talking about the iron sights, they are very simple. It consists of this rear sight and this front sight. The rear sight is very similar to the sight on our LEGO blowback pistol, in which it uses these cheese wedge pieces and this flat base plate. And the front sight is this. Is just this hooking LEGO piece, and that is it. A bit simple, but still quite effective. And this is the LEGO Technic bow. It is very simple, yet very effective. What you may be able to notice is this one is made entirely out of LEGO Technic Connects and LEGO Technic rods. For the most part, we use these straight rods and some of these different shaped rods. And of course, we use this part here to connect the bow to the LEGO weapon. The bow string, or shall I say rubber band, is attached to this bow by wrapping it around in this connect between these two parts of the bow arm, like that. And so, in order to complete the crossbow, we need to attach this LEGO bow onto the LEGO system, and to do so is very simple. You may notice that there are 3 LEGO Technic Connects, and what these LEGO Technic Connects are supposed to do is slot into 3 of these LEGO Technic holes. There are only 5 because my piece usage was quite limited if I wanted sturdiness. And to put them on is very simple. all you would do is, first of all, which part of the rubber band do you want to use for shooting, preferably the stronger one, and then when you've sorted out which part goes on the top and which part goes on the bottom, very simple, all you do is you slot these connects through the appropriate LEGO Technic holes, and then when you've done that, you can push them together, and there you are. You have a LEGO Crossbow. And of course, you don't have to use this as a LEGO Crossbow. With this Connect system, you can easily attach a LEGO Technic Connect there, and with the hammer mechanism, use it as a rubber band gun, similar to our flintlock. And it works pretty effectively, and it is pretty accurate. And that's sweet and all, but I designed this thing as a crossbow, and that's how we're going to keep it for today. And with this LEGO Crossbow, it is now time to go on to the accuracy test. Let's do this. Can this crossbow hit those 3 targets? It is now time to find out. So we're just going to be a little further back this time. And we're going to start test number 1. Pass. Test number 2. Pass. And of course, test number 3. Pass. All 3 pass. And just to let you know that the gun is still just as accurate with smaller bolts, we're going to shoot those 2 targets with these. So, we're going to do the first shot. Pass. And we're going to do the second shot. Pass. So as we can see from the accuracy test, the LEGO Crossbow flew through, hitting all of the 5 targets. However, was that just by chance, or is it genuinely that accurate? We'll find that out in the precision test. However, before we go on to that, allow me to talk you through the good things of this LEGO Crossbow. Now, starting off with the obvious, it looks a lot more sleek. It has a better design than our last instalment of the LEGO Crossbow. And starting off with the ergonomics, the grip is super comfortable. As you may notice, the grip is off at a really nice angle, making it more natural to hold and thus easier to use. It's very close to the trigger and nothing feels too uncomfortable. As you may have noticed, there are studs on this side of the grip, which helps keep your hand into a good position and helps you keep a very nice strong grip onto the gun. Right next to the grip is a really nice sturdy trigger guard. Okay, it's not always completely perfect and there are some issues with it which I will outline, but it's a nice, cleaner, more polished and sturdy pistol grip. And it's very nice. It houses a trigger in. It's not too large, it's not too spacious. However, it's spacious enough for me to put my finger in the trigger guard and pull the trigger comfortably. Also, another good thing about this LEGO gun is this mechanism works as easy as ever. It's very easy to cock the hammer of the weapon, like so. Very easy to use. And all you have to do is cock that hammer, load that crossbow, and fire. Talking about the bow, yes. The bow arm is just as sturdy and just as strong as the bow arm on our previous LEGO Crossbow. However, you may have noticed something slightly different, aka the bow arm is actually curved. and it creates a nicer, more cleaner look. It makes it look more like a crossbow, and of course that means that it has a little heightened sense to realism. Okay, it's not perfect, however, it's definitely an improvement to our last. You may also notice that actually this bow arm is kept tidily within the crossbow. It's not a seeming mess underneath the gun, which is another major improvement. Another good thing is the really nice smoothness of the groove, and the fact that the groove is smooth really does help both the actual bow rubber band and the Lego rod to fire off smoothly. There's no catching on any of the parts, which is very good. And additionally, there's no tunnel at the end, which caused a lot of issues on our last crossbow. If you wanted to fire a Lego brick, for example, you're kind of fucked, because if you ever tried to do that, you have to make it was a certain length, because what would happen was it would smash into that little tunnel at the end and boom back in. And that's not the best thing to have happen to you when you're firing this Lego crossbow. Of course, we've got one more great positive thing. Talking about clean looks, you can't see the rubber band that is connected to the trigger. And that's because it's tucked away. And this is obviously a good thing yet again, just to reiterate, because your finger doesn't tug onto the rubber band as you try and fire the weapon. Now that we've gone through some of the positives of this weapon, I'm sure there's many more, it is now time to go on to the precision test. Was the accuracy test a clear demonstration of the crossbow's ability, or was it just pure fucking luck? It's now time to find out with the precision test. We're going to see if that crossbow can hit that fixed target 3 times. So, here we are. I did kind of shift it all out a little bit so that the large crossbow bolt doesn't damage the computer. And we are going to start the precision test. So, test number 1. Pass. Test number 2, pass. And third and final test. Pass. All 3 tests pass. And now it's that time of video again. Yes, this Lego crossbow may be a really neat classic, however, just as always, it certainly ain't perfect. So here, before we wrap up this episode, I'm just going to talk through all of the bad things. And the first thing I would like to mention is the sights. Have you noticed something really bad about the sights? In particular, how they are all stored in the same place. Very few studs apart from each other. Might as well not be a front and rear sight. Might as well just be called the rear sight, because they're all just crammed together like this. And again, just like on our fully automatic machine pistol, it's not as easy with a sight like this to gauge where you should be hitting, because the reason why you want your sight down there and there is so you can get a really nice aligning, particularly with the tip of the barrel. The issue with this type of sight is you look down, you think, oh yeah, it's going to hit, and what you don't realise, because of the way the sights were made, is you don't realise that maybe you were off by a couple of inches. And when you're doing something like fighting a Lego wall or something like that, it's not good. Another big issue is, as good as it is to have the rubber band stored inside the Lego gun, it's not so good that when the rubber band snaps, you have to dig all the way through into the Lego gun just to fix it. And it's clear to me that in future installments of this LEGO Crossbow we're going to have to make it so that we can field strip or at least remove certain parts with a bit more ease, while still keeping that strong and sturdy body, because it's clear to see that it may be a difficulty to refix them, and trust me, fixing it is a bitch. I've done it before and it's not so great. It's one of the poor experiences when using this tremendous LEGO Crossbow. Again, talking about the mechanism, one of the biggest issues with the gear is that sometimes when you fire it, it seems to spread apart a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more until really you couldn't even load it on properly, and the weapon will just fire without you pulling the trigger, which is definitely not very good, especially when you've just manually loaded the weapon. Another bad thing is this gear that I've used on this gun. It may just be the gear, but it's inconsistent as fuck. I mean, I've loaded it in certain ways, and what would tend to happen is this little hammer could only reach a certain position, and when you try to cock it all the way back it would end up there again, which isn't so good because when it's there it tends, wait for it, to fire off inadvertently, creating a bad misfire, which is definitely not very good. And again, these misfires could be very bad, especially if you're shooting and accidentally hit a TV or knock something off. It's not good at all. Again, we talk about how nice these crossbow bows are. Again, whilst they're very sturdy, it is way too... Sometimes you can end up having issues with the bow arms in and of themselves, aka it's very hard to try and get it so that you fix it correctly. Yeah, when you try and replace this band, it's really hard just to hold it down and rearrange the rubber band, and then again the rubber band's better off being manipulated with two hands rather than just one. So when you're trying to hold this thing down, that's already one hand gone. You only have one hand to focus on the actual sorting out of the bow, which is not necessarily a good thing. It's easier to refix the rubber band with two hands working at the same time, but because one hand will probably have to hold the thing down, make sure that the rubber band doesn't just snap up in the air, that's not a very good thing to have. Also, another big issue is within the trigger guard. Yeah, it's sturdy in some respects, but in other respects it's not. I mean, you look at this now, and what could easily happen with this trigger guard is it could be misaligned, so it is easy to misalign it. So it looks a little skew-if. No biggie, huh? Another bad issue is all you have to do is hold down on that trigger gun and it just flies off. It just goes in, you know, right, just watch it again, watch it, look. Yeah, trigger guards shouldn't be able to do that, and that is definitely quite a big issue. We need to sort it out how, yeah, as much as I like the way the trigger guard's built just because of its nice shape and how you can easily manipulate it to make a good thinner shape compared to your gun, it does have that issue that if you hold down on it too much it may not be able to withstand it. The whole guard may be able to withstand it, but it won't be able to stay affixed to the gun, and that's not a good thing at all. Another issue is the attachability. Whilst you may still be able to attach items onto this LEGO gun, it's not as easy as last time. You've got to remove certain parts of this gun off. You've got to go, oh yeah, remove this and put that on. It was easier on our other crossbow where it was usually just put it on and take it off. This one you've got to do a lot more fiddling. It is possible, which is kind of a good thing, but I didn't mention it in the positives because it's very awkward, and even with the attachments it doesn't necessarily make it better. With the red dot sight it certainly doesn't make it better. My experience on that one when I've tried to do it, the accuracy was completely skewed the minute I put that red dot sight on. So yeah, damn, this season really ain't good for attachability, is it? Negatives aside, however, this LEGO Crossbow is a very nice addition to your LEGO arsenal. Very nice, very sturdy, accurate and definitely powerful. And on that note, it is time to end the video. If you like the video, give it a like, and if you want to see more, click the subscribe button and check my channel out. And of course, next time we'll be showing you... Oh shit, check this out! Yes, we'll be showing you this semi-automatic hunting rifle. Now thank you for watching, and of course, keep on building.